Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm helping you level up your communication skills. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down how the Pomodoro technique works. Plus, I'm also going to explain why it is that this technique boosts creativity for writers, for speakers, storytellers, and for any other field that predominantly deals with uncertainty. Last Friday, I ended up emceeing this event which went smooth. As the event was winding down, I started to recall the past 2 to 3 weeks in terms of preparation. As an MC, a large part of the preparation comes down to understanding the speakers, building a relationship with them. I believe it was the public speaking gods which were like, look, MC, if you build a great relationship with the speakers, and speakers, look, if you build a great relationship with the MC, we promise that nothing bad is going to happen on the actual event day. No one is going to pull on the fire alarms. There's not going to be a random hurricane warning out of the blue moon. Everything is going to go well. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. I started to form bonds with the speakers. And for one particular speaker, as we were interacting, he eventually asks me, Armani, other than this event, what else is in your plate? What else are you working on? I was glad that he asked me that question because it gave me the opportunity to bring up a few of the books that I'm working on this year. These books are going to be paperback. They're going to hold plenty of my short stories. And did I mention they're going to be released this year? As I was explaining this, I saw the speaker. He started to change. He went from being whatever to getting more excited second by second. Eyes got extremely wide. He started to get all giggity. Then he enthusiastically asks me, Armani, you write books? I've always wanted to write a book. Well, go on, tell me about your day. The way that he was asking me this question, it felt as though that he had expectations. What did he exactly think was going on in my day? Did he think that there were dragons and demons chasing me as I was in front of my laptop writing like this? What was he exactly imagining? For a traditional writer, it's a process. You wake up early in the morning, you start writing, you start creating, you look outside the window, and the day has ended. Rinse and repeat for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks, for a couple of months, and for some authors, for a couple of years. In this repetitive process, how exactly are you going to remain consistent? How exactly are you going to remain productive? Through the Pomodoro technique. I want to explain the basic fundamentals of the Pomodoro technique, and then you could play around with the variables. The Pomodoro technique works like this. All you need is a timer and a task. It's best once you start getting clarified on the task. Get clarified before you actually begin the Pomodoro technique style. Once you get specific on what it is that you want to work on, then you assign 25 minutes to work. And when you work, make sure you turn that timer on. Then, once the timer finishes, you want to give yourself roughly 5 minutes of rest. That's 1 repetition. That's 1 Pomodoro. It's normally suggested that you do this 4 times. And once you do this 4 times, if you have more work to take care of, that's when it's recommended that you reduce the amount of time for work and you increase the amount of time to take a break. So for example, the first 4 times, 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes of break. After the 4 repetitions are done, then 20 minutes of work, 10 minutes of break. You can play around with the numbers. Personally for me, 25 minutes and 5 is a little too small in terms of writing. I normally like to operate in the hours. I like to work for 2 hours and give myself 30-minute breaks, but that's just personally for me. And also, the numbers can change depending on the task that you are working on. It really comes down to finding the right rhythm for you and staying consistent with it. It comes down to what? The timer and the clarified task. That's correct. With all the systems out of the way, the process out of the way, it begs the question, why is it that the Pomodoro technique is lethal for people within fields that require uncertainty? It's mainly because whenever uncertainty is involved, the body doesn't like that. When the body faces uncertainty, it gets anxiety, which is why it's extremely strategic for the smart, compassionate mind to guide the body. It's the goal of the mind to be like, yes, there is uncertainty involved, but I'm going to give you some certainty. And that's where the systematized process of the Pomodoro comes in. What happens normally is that with creative people, there's a negative reputation that a lot of them seem to get. This creative person, they're just winging everything. They don't have any discipline. Sure, that's like the case with a lot of creative people. Even if they can produce something great, it's not going to last. This group of people, unfortunately, normally go crazy or lose discipline, which is why creative people who consistently show up have discipline. Why do they have discipline? Because they have systems in place, and one of them could be the Pomodoro technique. This technique adds structure plus chaos at the same time. Eventually, the body, which hates uncertainty, is now becoming programmed to interpret that during this block, you got certainty, but within this block, you got uncertainty, structured chaos. This leads to great art, and this leads to out-of-world ideas. Try it out for yourself. Leverage the Pomodoro technique no matter which field you're in. The field can leverage a lot of uncertainty, a very creative field, or the field can be extremely certain, something that's mechanical. Either way, splitting down the workload into time increments allows the fuzzy mind, the fuzzy body to move with intent. And that's when the writer who keeps doing that repetitive task is not feeling bored. He's feeling energized. He's feeling fired up. So when there's a speaker who enthusiastically asks him, "What do you do all day?" the writer can give a compelling response back to this aspiring writer as well. If today's video helped you, be sure to help me back by hitting that like button right on below. And thank you for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel.